Why would a vicious murderer take the risk of going on national TV?
Nice to see you. You're from Milford Haven down there. It's a lovely part of the world. You've got an unusual hobby, John, haven't you?
Oh yes, the scuba diving.
The scuba diving. And apparently it's the place to do it down there, isn't it?
Oh, we've got the coastline.
When in 1989 John Cooper appeared on ITV's popular game show Bullseye, he had already committed 2 murders. 3 weeks after his appearance on Bullseye, he would murder again. I'm Gina, this is Dark and Dishonest, and you are welcome. In December 1985, emergency services were called to a house fire in Scoverston Park, Pembrokeshire, Wales, United Kingdom. They soon found the very badly burnt bodies of Richard Thomas and his sister Helen. But the fire wasn't their cause of death. Richard had been shot in the head and the stomach. Helen had been tied up and shot in the head. Police deemed the case a robbery gone wrong. The perpetrator, they believe, had expected Helen to be home alone, but had then been surprised by the arrival of her brother. After killing both Helen and Richard, the perpetrator set the house on fire in order to cover his tracks. In summer 1989, in Little Haven, which is found less than 10 miles away from Scoverston Park, Peter Dixon and Gwenda Dixon, a married couple in their 50s from Oxford, went out for one last walk along the Pembrokeshire coastline on the last day of their holiday. 2 days later, the couple's son, Tim, reported his parents missing. Not long after that, the bodies of both Peter and Gwenda were found on a path along the coastline. Peter had been tied up. Both he and Gwenda had been shot in the face and robbed. Before killing Peter, the killer had forced Peter to tell him the PIN for his bank card, with which the killer had since withdrawn around £300 from cash points in the local area. Now, one may well ask why anyone would kill for such little monetary gain. The amount of violence used on Peter was enough to kill him several times over. Peter's killer wasn't just killing for a few £100 here and there. He was killing for sadistic, psychopathic pleasure. One of the thousands of people that the police subsequently questioned in the course of their investigation was a local farm labourer. His family readily backed his story that the wedding ring that he'd recently sold was none other than his own. As such, the man was eliminated from the inquiry, leaving the police to try to trace whoever actually had removed Peter Dixon's wedding ring from his finger and then sold it. Unbeknown to the police, however, the man that they had just questioned had a history of violence, including battering his own son. The man in question was called John William Cooper. If you plan to start a YouTube channel of your own, then Creator Fast Track from Gillian Perkins will teach you everything you need to know about keywords, titles, thumbnails, the first 30 seconds of your video and the video idea itself, as well as absolutely everything else you need to know in order to win at YouTube. The information is of course gathered in one place and sequenced in a logical and meaningful way, rather than being scattered across a million YouTube videos with no sequencing of any kind. There's a link to further information in the description box below. Support your girl Gina and click, click, click. In March 1996, a group of teenage friends, 5 in total, who were walking through a field in Milford Haven, Pembrokeshire, saw a man coming towards them wearing a balaclava and dark clothing and carrying a torch and a gun. The man raped one of the girls, sexually assaulted another, and then robbed the rest of the group. By now, Pembrokeshire had seen 3 horrendous crimes, including 2 double murders in just over a decade. In addition, the local area was suffering an ongoing spate of robberies and burglaries. All the victims were lone females. Their homes were broken into in the evenings by a single offender wearing a balaclava and armed with a sawn-off shotgun. In November 1996, however, the intruder was disturbed during one of his burglaries. He took flight, dumping his balaclava and other items in a hedge. Not long after, in the process of making inquiries at a house in the local area, the police found a stash of stolen goods there. The house was the home of John William Cooper. The police then searched the homes of various members of Cooper's family. In doing so, they turned up evidence that connected Cooper to no fewer than 29 burglaries and an armed robbery. Importantly, these same searches also uncovered evidence linking Cooper to the Scoverston Park murders. But what Cooper was soon sent to prison for was burglary and robbery. The police, you see, lacked what they call a golden nugget of forensic evidence that would have proved Cooper's guilt in the Scoveston Park murders beyond all reasonable doubt. In 2006, a cold case review of the Scoveston Park murders, the Little Haven murders and the Milford Haven attacks was launched. As you might imagine, by 2006, forensic science was more advanced than it had ever been. There was, as such, a much stronger chance that the golden nugget of forensic evidence against Cooper in the matter of the 4 killings and of the attacks on the 5 teenagers would finally be found. Cooper was someone who craved respect. Given this, before the launch of their 4-day interrogation of Cooper in connection with the cold case review, police were briefed to mainly let Cooper speak. Cooper was to have the floor so that he would feel as if he were in control of a captive audience. At this point, July 2008, Cooper was still in prison for robbery and burglary, but his release date was looming. In the interrogation, Cooper kept referring to a shotgun that police believed that he had used in one of the murders. Cooper was sensing that, against the impression that he'd been under, the gun had in fact not been destroyed, and that was clearly a worry to him. And yet, in January 2009, on grounds that there was still no conclusive evidence to pin Cooper to the 4 murders and to the attacks on the teenagers, Cooper was released from prison. The cold case review persisted, however, and in April 2009, a 20-year-old spot of blood found on a pair of Cooper's shorts was identified as Peter Dixon's. The same pair of shorts throws up something of a twist. Back in 1989, Cooper wore those shorts on some of the occasions on which he withdrew cash from the bank using Peter Dixon's bank card. The artist's impression that was made of Cooper, showing Cooper wearing those shorts, of course matched with Cooper himself, such as he had appeared on Bullseye in May of 1989. Now this brings us back to our original question: why would a murderer go on national TV? Well, May 1989 was 4.5 years after Cooper had carried out the 2 killings at Scoveston Park. Cooper clearly thought he was invincible.
John Cooper felt that he was untouchable. That would have not raised an issue with him, the fact that he would go on to national television and people would see him. I think actually probably enjoyed that attention.
20.
It's attracted within the local community.
And 1, 26.
He would have seen it as a challenge to go on. Even so, he still gambles. That's what it means, compulsive. They just can't give it up, can they?
Another important twist to the shorts, if you like, is that Cooper denied that he was the person in the artist's impression, saying that the shorts depicted were too long to be his own were shorter.
Those are long-legged shorts.
You're pointing a difference then, you say that they're not similar and that they're longer on the artist's
Well,
impression.
those are short-leg shorts, that's long-legged shorts.
So then forensic experts re-examined the shorts. They found that they had in fact been shortened, and on unstitching the hem and testing the material, they traced DNA belonging to Julia Dixon, the daughter of Peter and Gwenda Dixon. Police believe that Cooper simply took the shorts from the rucksack that he stole from Peter. There is simply no other explanation for the DNA of Julia Dixon being on a pair of shorts owned by John William Cooper. In May 2009, 5 months after being released from 10 years in prison, Cooper was arrested on suspicion of the Little Haven murders.
He's kicked off. He's kicked off. They're in round the corner. He's kicked off.
In his car, police found a rope, gloves and an ordnance survey map of Pembrokeshire. They had no doubt that Cooper was planning to rob again, burgle again and kill again. In 2011, Cooper was sentenced to life imprisonment for the Little Haven murders, the Scoveston Park murders and the Milford Haven attacks on the 5 teenagers. The evidence against Cooper had mounted, all thanks to forensic science, including evidence found on Cooper's shotgun underneath the paintwork and in the sweepings from his shed. The judge stressed that in Cooper's case, life will mean life. If this video has gripped you, I recommend you to watch this one next. I'll meet you there.